up? What is up? What is up? Your boy Sledge is in the house. Got a special guest in here. We got a special guest today. What y'all got going on today? What do y'all got going on today? Special guest. It's been a long time in the making. Been a long time in the making. I introduced him to Anthony Venture, and Anthony had an interview with him. Big shout out to Anthony. But now he is on Unfiltered. So, this gonna be a whole nother experience over here. I see Chad Money Menace is in the building. Shout out to Chad. You know how we do. We hold up for a second, let a couple people get in the building. Man, Xavier ain't been in here for 1 second, man. Drop the 199 super chat, man. My dog. Eddie in the building. What's good, Eddie? What is good, Eddie? Yeah, we just getting settled in, man. The guests gonna be in a few seconds. Got to get a few things situated. How y'all doing tonight? And y'all know how we do it. Get a couple people in here. I thought I was running late. Like I'm running late. Next thing I get in there, he just got settled in. So it's gonna work out perfect tonight. Get this thing. I'm gonna bring him in a few seconds. Get something settled real quick. I ain't want to bring him in till we got a couple people in this piece, but we ain't gonna keep him waiting too much longer. Richie in the building. My dog Richie is in the building. I hope you feeling better, my brother. Eddie, man, look, you ain't got to thank this community, man. Listen, we do it for y'all, man. Like, we do it for y'all. I don't know what them other people do, but over here, we do this for y'all, man. Yeah, we do this for y'all. I got Eric Harper is in the building. And man, look, I'm about to bring the guest in a second. I'm dilly-dallying. You know what? I'm just gonna bring them in, yo. Let me drop this quick introduction. What is up, team? It's your boy Sledge from the SledgeIncTeam, back with another episode of 20 Questions with Sledge. And today's guest is a musician, a composer, and a podcaster. It is my guy Michael from the Midlife Money Moves YouTube channel. What is up? What is up? What is up, my guy?
Hey, what's up? Thanks so much for having me. This is really cool.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, I think it's been a pretty chill day.
That's good. That's good. We got a couple people in here. It's gonna start picking up a little bit. So we got 11 people in here right now, but
Oh, that's cool.
it's gonna pick up. This just the way it go. So for the people that don't know Michael, can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, I am Michael. You said a lot of stuff already. I'm a musician, I'm a teacher, I'm a composer, I'm a storyteller, a bunch of stuff. But like kind of recently, I guess it's maybe just in the last year. I should look and see what my channel anniversary is. I started a YouTube channel called Midlife Money Moves. I think that's how we kind of connected.
Yes, sir.
And it's my my process of trying to turn my sort of disastrous finances around in time for retirement because I'm in my 50s. So it's been a journey, but really a cool one.
All right. So the way this usually works, because this is basically a credit card channel, I usually ask some questions that's credit card related, and then some that's not so much. But today we'll do a little bit different. We go we go focus mainly on you and your journey, and then we go throw some fun questions in the end. And if you ready to get started, let's get to it.
Yeah, let's go. I'm ready. It's good because I watch your channel, so I'm a little like, where's this gonna go today? So
You never
I'm
know where
ready.
it's gonna go. All right, so this is always a softball question. I start off with this with everybody. What made you set up a camera or a smartphone or whatever you use to record and start recording content for YouTube?
It's I've been at it, like, this is my second channel. Like, I had a channel like for my my music, like composing and all that kind of stuff, which I always sort of like did vlogs and my videos and stuff like that. This channel, the one I think connects more with what with what you do, is I started really watching. I it's really hard. I was trying to figure out how I kind of got to this place, but I think I came a point where I've always had like really like messed up finances, and I started kind of learning about budgeting and stuff on YouTube. Then I got things kind of going pretty good, although I had a ton of debt. And then I started watching credit card YouTube because my credit got good, and I started getting credit cards, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. And then I realized I started to share about trying to get out of all this debt. And I think I just saw so many other people doing it. There's like a really interesting niche of like budgeting people on YouTube who share their entire budget and like their exact number of how much debt they have. And it seemed like a really good way to kind of like be accountable to other people and like maybe kind of get out of the shadows a little bit, because there's so much embarrassment about having like messed up finances. So I mean, that's what did it. I think I really just wanted to find a way to connect with other people about this thing I was working so hard on, like fixing.
Man, you know what? The one thing that really attracted me to your channel is, man, you're super transparent. Like you're super transparent, man. And anybody who has not seen Michael's channel, please, please, please subscribe to his channel. We're gonna give you more information about it later. As soon as this live is over, I'm gonna connect his channel to here so you can subscribe to him. But yeah, Michael is super transparent, and he give it raw in the way that it is over there, man. And anybody that's watching, you will like his channel. Now, the name of the channel was Midlife Money Moves. What made you choose that name for the channel?
Well, I was trying to choose something that like kind of showed that I was on the older side. That's where the midlife part comes from. And I guess the money moves part just sounded kind of good because I was trying to move my money to a new direction. I'm in midlife. I was trying to put as much of what I was talking about in the title.
Well, I guess that makes sense. that definitely makes sense. Okay. But as you know, you said you watch some of these. This is Unfiltered, so we got to get right into it.
I'm ready for like whatever you got.
How did you start having financial problems?
That question like is so hard to answer because like I just always had financial problems. Like, and I don't know why. Like, that's one of the things. And I think about like, I think I just, it's a weird like thing to explain because it's really the answer is like, I don't know. It just happened. Like, I remember even when I was in high school, when I like got my first checking account, I was bouncing checks and like, I couldn't get my head around like how to do it right. And like, it's weird to talk about because I know from some people, probably most people, it's really easy. And I think that's why I like to share about it because I know there are other people out there that are just like, I don't know, I just can't figure this out. And I think at some point I just kind of decided because I was a musician and, like I was really focused on doing music and activism and all this different stuff that traditionally doesn't make you money anyway. Right. So I think I was a little like, well, this is just, I don't have a real job. I just kind of teach piano. Like I always felt like I was just cobbling my life together. So I never really thought that I could also have like a healthy financial life. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's sort of a non-answer. I don't know. Does that feel like a
No,
a,
no,
a real
no.
answer to the question?
No, it's a real answer. Like I say, everybody's situation is different. So
Yeah.
now, realistically, as human beings, it's hard for us to admit when we have a problem. You know what I'm saying? Like it
Yeah.
is like, and that's I won't say everybody, but probably 99% of the population. You know, when we have a problem with something, it's hard to admit that problem.
Oh, yeah.
What was the most challenging part about acknowledging your debt and taking the first steps to tackle that debt?
Um, I think it was like during COVID that I like, I'll like for all my life, I always sort of just like figured it out. Like when some emergency came up or something, I was just like, I always managed to figure out a way out of it. Like
Right.
everything. And I got in that habit of just like, well, I'll be able to figure it out. Like uh, but then COVID happened and like all my work dried up and like there wasn't really a solution. Like I was in this place of like, oh, this is that thing where people say you should have like money saved.
Right.
This is the other shoe that drops, right? Um, so I mean, I think that's kind of what happened that made me start thinking about changing. I think the biggest thing that it because I mean, I think a big problem that happened while I was like really in the depths of it was that I I got I tried I started budgeting and I got on top of like all my minimum payments right on the credit cards that I had at the time. And I have a bunch of tax debts. I've always been self-employed and never really figured out like,
Yeah.
the same stuff I talked about. I was like, oh, this is just, I guess, how I do it.
Right.
So I got really behind on taxes, but I was making my minimum payments to the IRS. Like everyone was off my back. So I was like, okay, I guess I fixed this. But like gradually I started realizing like this isn't working well. And I sat down and just was like, let me like just make a spreadsheet with all of my debts on it. And this was probably a couple of years ago. And I started putting them all down. I was like, this is the percentage rate on this credit card and in my mind, like I was one of those people, like all these credit card YouTubers are always like, pay your statement balance in full every month. But to me at the time, I was like, well, I'm doing the thing. I'm paying the minimum payment. So
Right.
they're not going to like report it to my to my credit score. So all that stuff just piles up. And then, so I was writing down all these debts. And I remember that feeling of like, oh my God, this is a lot of money. Like, this is a lot of money. I think it was like, I was going to look it up today so I would know the number, but it was around $70,000.
Ooh.
Yeah. And it was just like, oh, this is really bad. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, how, like, because it was always in my mind, it was always this thing of like, well, I'll figure that out. Like, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to get on top of that, tomorrow, next week, I'm really going to get that worked out. But then, then you're 50 years old and like, oh, I never really got to the part where I figured this out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, was that your question? Did I answer the question? Like what the
Yeah.
steps were and like how I got there. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, the thing about it is like same thing. I mean, I never had $70,000, but yeah, I didn't always have, the best financial habits, what I'm saying, and being where I am right now in my life. But yeah, that debt can compound way quicker than you think it will.
Yeah. And then for a while, I was in this place like, yeah, those credit cards, they trick you, but they don't really they're not really open about like
Yeah.
how much interest you're paying, but
Yeah.
it's on the bill. Like it's not a secret.
No, not a
Like I
secret.
could have looked at that and figured it out, but it was easier to just be like, I got this credit card. I'll just use this and like not really think about what else was happening.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to say, you know what? I'm just gonna pay this $15. You know what I'm saying? I'll pay
Yeah, and it's like,
$15 a month.
Yeah, and at the time I was like, okay, done. I did that today. I handled my credit card. That's all handled now, except for the remaining $2,000 or $3,000 that it has to be handled at some point. Oh, I think I lost your sound somehow. I can't hear you. Still nothing. And I wonder if it could be me. That's so weird. Let me see if I can just switch to say something now. Can I hear you? No, I don't know what happened. Oh, I think your sound stopped in the room too. John R and JR are saying no sound.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Oh.
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I still hear you.
Okay, cool.
No, that was weird. I had to go out and come back in. It was on the screen saying there was an error with the sound, which is weird, but whatever.
So I missed whatever you were just saying.
What I was saying was the credit card companies will definitely say, you know what, let me get this 23% interest, or whatever, whatever the interest is. They'll definitely take that if you keep paying the minimum balance. So
yeah.
like they'll definitely take
JR said the government is keeping you from dropping the gems for people to get out of debt.
I don't know what it was. Like literally, it just I had to go out to come back in.
Yeah.
Now we know that. Well, I know because I watch your channel that you've made a lot of progress. With your budgeting and things like that. What are some of the biggest sacrifices? Because like I say, a lot of people that's viewing it now, they're my viewers, so they're probably not as familiar with you. What are some of the biggest sacrifices and lifestyle changes that you've made to try to get out of debt faster?
It's so funny. I feel like we're leaving out that are we working toward the final chapter too? Should I mention my last thing?
You can go ahead and mention it. Yeah.
Well, like one of the big things recently is that I filed bankruptcy, and it just I just finished everything I had to do for that this week, Wednesday. So that going through that, I don't know if that's a sacrifice because it feels kind of like a get out of jail card in a weird way that we could talk about. But I think before that, I really started. My main income comes from teaching piano,
right?
And I really loaded up my schedule with students to the point where it doesn't feel as bad now, but for a good chunk of time when I was really feeling buried with trying to dig out of the debt and working like crazy, running around teaching kids. I mean, I feel like that kind of became the hardest thing of just I have to, because I live in New York City, so I have a lot of rent. It's expensive to live here.
Yeah.
So I could only bring my expenses down so much. So I really had to just load up the work. So that felt like the most challenging thing, I think, to keep the momentum going and just keep. It's funny to be teaching kids doesn't sound like that intense of a job, but running around and doing it till later at night and that kind of stuff. I feel that felt like the biggest challenge of turning things around, aside from figuring out how to budget and do all that kind of stuff that I do now too.
Now, what are some of this? Because I know it happens. It happens to everybody. What are some of the setbacks that you had during this journey, though?
The biggest setbacks were me finding myself doing the same. I keep catching myself from using bad language. I'll try to keep filtering.
Listen, This is unfiltered, man. We don't. It's unfiltered. You don't have to filter your language here.
All right, so I would do the same. I would find myself doing the same shit. Like a couple of times I was making videos. Remember a couple of times I'd make a video and be like, every week I would go over my spending. I'd be like, what happened with my grocery budget this week? Like, of all the things to freak out about, but the pressure of like, all these things trying to get out from under debt, really realizing like, oh my God, no one's going to save me when I'm old and I can't work anymore. Like, I have to figure this out. So, all this stuff was like so much pressure. And then looking at my grocery budget and like having overspent by like a couple $100, like, how did I do that? Like, those were I forgot what your question was. I remember this is the answer to it.
Look, I done lost track. I'm over here trying to talk into it.
I remember it now. You were asking me what the big setbacks were. And I think the setbacks were like myself. Like there were a lot of times I would be doing the same kind of shit that got me in the mess to begin with. And then I would look at the numbers on my spreadsheet or whatever I was looking at, be like, there's no one to get mad at. Like, it's me. I did this. So I think those are the biggest challenges and setbacks. Like the rest of everything feels better, even when like I used to be so off with my money and so just like lackadaisical about everything. I would always look at my like banking app in the morning and be like, is there going to be money in this? Like, what went through that I forgot about? How far overdrafted am I? Like, it's funny to even talk about it now because it feels so foreign already. But it was just normal for me to be like, oh no, like 2 things overdrafted, which caused some more things to overdraft because the fees like that. I don't know if you've ever been in that pit before, but it really sucks. Yeah. So even with like things that were rough, just having my kind of day-to-day bills and stuff, like being on top of that kind of is like so much serenity, even at the worst of like other stuff with money. Oh, we lost your sound again, I think. I don't hear it again.
They really don't want me to be here.
Oh, there you are. There you are.
The government really don't want me to be here.
We're telling too many secrets about.
And the transparency is real, man. And I see a couple people, and maybe 3-4 people said they subscribe to your channel, man.
That's really cool. I appreciate it. We lost your sound again. Oh, Richie, the CEO. I also use YNAB, but that's the thing that helped me like start getting on top of everything. I think Sledge is checking his sound. Yeah, Sledge signed out, and I think he's going to sign back in. I can't hear you. I want to. Oh, there you are.
You hear me?
Yeah, now I hear you.
Yeah, it just came down again. Something about the default mic. I don't know what's going on with this program today.
No good.
They're not using me being in this orientation.
You threw it off.
All right, but anyway. You got a series for Tuesday. Can you tell us about that?
Oh, about the Transfer Tuesday? I wish I could remember her name. There's a show, like a budgeting channel called Pennies Not Perfection. And I think she's the one that started this whole thing of just on Tuesdays making a video about whatever you're moving, like whatever money you're moving toward. She does it with what she's saving and investing, But I started doing it about what debt I was paying off that week too, like what debt payments I made and that kind of thing. It's kind of good. It's an interesting, like one of those weird, interesting movements. Like it's like the credit card thing too. There's, people really interact with each other and help each other in both of these like budgeting and credit card communities. So it's a cool thing where people like will chime in the comments about like, oh, I put like $10 in my emergency fund, anything like that. And it's kind of like this open thing where you could say whatever amount it is, it works. So yeah, that is a cool thing. I haven't done it for a while, but I'm getting back to it this month.
Okay. Yeah. I think that was the first one I ever seen of you, the Transfer Tuesdays.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's fun watching people do it. There's a woman that I work with. She actually has been coaching me. Her name is Layla. She does these Transfer Tuesdays and she paid down a ton of debt. And now she's got all this money. She's kept on going and like she's investing. She's got good saving accounts, all this stuff. She started her own business. It's really cool seeing people like keep on going and keep growing in that way.
That's awesome. Now, while you were working on your journey, just in the middle of the journey or during the time, what do you think was your biggest breakthrough? When you felt like you were actually making progress?
I think there's kind of two. Like the first, I think I had like an emotional breakthrough about the whole thing where I realized like, I don't want to be too hard on myself, but I think for a long time, I kind of felt like I was a victim to a lot of like, I'm a musician, so I'm not going to make any money. And our society doesn't really support musicians. Like I had all these reasons why I was in the mess that I was in. I think one, like a big breakthrough I had was like that may or may not be true. But at this point, like I have to snap out of it. Like I have to fix it. So like regardless of what else is happening in the world, I have the power to turn this around to some degree.
Right.
So that was a big breakthrough. And I think somebody, I forgot who it was, mentioned the software YNAB, You Need a Budget. That was the first way of budgeting that I looked at that really made me like, oh, like, because I just could never get my head around not spending money. Like it sounds weird, but I would look at my bank account and be like, oh, there's money in my bank account. So that means I can go buy dinner. I can go do whatever I want to do right now. And YNAB, short for You Need a Budget, was the first thing that made me like, oh, this is what all these other people are doing that aren't like overdrafting their accounts all the time. Because you take your money and like whatever's in your account, you like allocate it physically. You're like, well, physically, digitally. And then like, oh, this is the money that's left. This is the money I could spend. Like somehow that was a breakthrough that I needed.
Man, you know what's funny? That was going to be one of the questions because I'm like, what is this YNAB? I'm like for the slow people in the back of the room, like I didn't understand it.
It is like for somebody like me, like because I've tried and I worked okay. Like I was using spreadsheets and I was watching all these YouTube, like because I knew like I have to figure this out. So I was watching a lot of YouTube budgeters and downloading their spreadsheets and stuff. And this guy named Sean, who has been like, I don't really do my podcast anymore, but he did podcasts for years. And he's been someone that just has followed my work for a long time. And he's told me about YNAB. And I was like, I don't know, let me look. And I started using it and they have this whole like cult like community around their software, but it really makes things super simple. And it kind of gives a framework for making decisions about money, like in a really simple way that my brain just doesn't do by itself, apparently. I don't know. Does that help understand what it is?
Yeah. Because honestly, I had never or anything.
Yeah.
Look like a lot of people in the chat know what it was.
Yeah, it's really good. Like, but I think, like my younger sister is actually really good with money. And I was like, it's funny because I would be telling her like, I don't know, like some really basic thing about money, like, oh my God, did you know? I don't know. You could just some dumb basic thing. And she was often like, oh yeah, I knew about that. But YNAB was one of those things that made me like, I don't know how to describe, just kind of like understand. It's like training wheels or like guardrails for money for me.
Gotcha. The little bumpers at the bowling alley keep
Yeah.
keep you from going in the gutter.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that really helps me with it is it encourages you. It doesn't really encourage you to make mistakes, but it's built for you for the idea that you're gonna make mistakes. Like, like a lot of Dave Ramsey stuff and things like that. I would be like, okay, this month I'm only eating rice and beans, or like whatever people say. Well, I wouldn't do that. Like, I won't do that.
Right.
But then I would try it and fail at it and be like, well, I guess I just don't. I guess I'm just bad with money. I was right. But this, like, somehow this is like, okay, yeah, I screwed up, spent too much on groceries, bought this thing that wasn't in the budget. So, all right, so now I go back and figure out, like, where's the money going to come from to cover this? Like, it just kind of builds in this sort of natural okayness about that stuff.
Well, now that you realize that basically, I mean, because you said it yourself, the problem is you, right?
Yeah.
You got your budget in the end. You working on getting there. How has your mindset on money and since you started this process?
It really has. I was talking about it recently. I'm trying to remember what I said. Like, I remember, like, I mentioned my sister a lot because for a lot of years she was trying to help me get my shit together with my money. She would kind of like help me set up a budget, and whenever like there was like some allotted amount of money I was supposed to save, it always felt like I don't want to save that. Like, that's my money. Like, I felt like I was giving it away by doing that.
Right.
I mean, I think that's one of the things that changed. Like, now that like I'm getting to the other side of having filed bankruptcy, I'm having this moment of like, oh my God, all that money I was paying off on past debt, I could start putting in my retirement. Like, I'm feeling excited about being able to do that. So I think that's a big shift of just like taking the time to learn how to make money work for me instead of me using it to like, I mean, my money was always going to like some past thing I spent or some bill that was late. It's always paying for yesterday. So I
Right.
really am getting in the habit of like paying for today and preparing for tomorrow in a way that I haven't before. So, I mean, that's groundbreaking for me. I know it's very basic money stuff for a lot of people, but for me, it was like, whoa, you could do this? What a relief.
Yeah. Now, you stated earlier that you filed bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Since that moment, what has really changed for you?
That like just getting to the point where I would do it, like it's a big process. Like right around
Yeah.
the same time that I was realizing I needed to start doing stuff, my accountant started mentioning it because I've always been, not always, but for a lot of years I've been behind on my taxes and I've worked for myself. I didn't have a budget. I didn't have my business and personal expenses separated.
That's
And
important.
so I was doing that thing where I was like, well, I'm paying my minimum payments to the IRS, so they're not going to come and seize my bank account or anything, but I wasn't paying my current taxes. So every year I wound up owing more money than I had paid off. So ultimately she was like, listen, here's a chart, how much you owe more every year. Now this is a really big number. And she suggested it to me, filing bankruptcy. And I was like, oh, no, I got it. I'm like budgeting now. I'm going to be able to get on top of this. But like the more money I made, the more taxes I owed, of course, because that's just how it works. But I was trying so hard to pay off the past stuff. I wasn't, so I think ultimately it was around tax time last year that I like she did my taxes and I owed like the same amount in taxes that I had paid off in all my debt for that year. And it was like, I'm exactly where I started like, and I made a lot of mistakes along the way. Like I had like some responsibility and all of that, and the whole mess is my responsibility. But it made me realize, like, okay, I think she's right. Like, I got to really look into this. So I think I like looking into bankruptcy. I think your question was what changed.
Yeah, what changed for you?
What,
Or what do you think changed for you?
I think I got over like feeling like I had to be a hero and figure this out, like, and just power through and somehow make this miracle happen. And I
Yeah.
could have probably, like, I had like a plan to get through it. But one of the things that was really weighing on me was the fact that I'm in my mid 50s and literally my retirement account is $3,000. And that's not gonna it's not gonna get me through a month of retirement. So it made me realize, like, okay, so this thing is available to me. I qualify for it. I can, discharge most of my debt. Like, some of the tax debt is going to remain. And then really like start getting myself more ready for retirement. So I'm not at a later date going to be, needing support from the government to survive, or homeless, or working as a Walmart greeter at 98, which doesn't sound fun. So I don't know. I think what changed partly was just kind of getting out from under, feeling ashamed of having to do that.
All right. John got a question for you. He want to know if you have any credit cards right now, and if so, what do you have?
This is such a good question because I had a ton of credit cards.
Right.
And then some of them got discharged in the bankruptcy. Well, not all of them had a balance. Mm-hmm. But when you file bankruptcy, the banks just close them all down, even if it's a zero balance.
Oh, do they really?
Yeah. So, and that was one of the things, because I was just getting into Amex. And I was like, oh, this is so good. But they're not even going to look at me again. And for like 5 years, they say.
Yeah.
But
once
like,
it's off your credit report, though, it'd
yeah.
Even, yeah.
Yeah. But like interesting stuff happens. I don't know if you saw, I posted a thing like a couple days after I filed bankruptcy. I got a thing in the mail from this car dealership in New Jersey with a whole thing that was like, it directed to people who are in bankruptcy, and they'll give you a car loan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do have 2 credit cards now. One was I'm so surprised. Capital One gave me a credit card. Like, I was just kind of, because they have that pre-approval thing. So I was like, I won't go on my credit score. Let's see what happens. And they gave me a credit card a week, like 1 week after I filed. It's a $500 limit, but it's Saver One, which is great. I really like that card. So I have a Saver One. And then I actually wanted to talk to you about this awful business card I have. I don't know if you saw in our Discord chat that we were saying, this one credit card, it's a business credit card. For whatever reason, they didn't close it. And I think it's among the worst credit cards ever. Like, I don't know how many trashes you include in your descriptions, but it's the PayPal business credit card.
Oh, okay.
Do you know anything about it?
What is that, community? No. That's not community.
It's Concerto.
Okay, got you.
And
I know about it, but I don't know about it because it's different bank than the personal card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is like, it has 2% cash back on everything. And if you use it on a PayPal purchase, it's 3%. But like, the site is really janky. There's no app. You have to like, there's one page. The website is like one page. And like, it won't sync with my budgeting. It won't sync with anything. So I'm in this place of like, this card sucks, but I still have this credit card. So that's good. But it's trash. It's not good. And of course, really bad service, because that's how PayPal is. We lost your sound again. I should do feel like I should do hold music while you're posed. I love John R says, that's a sextuplet trash card. Oh, there you are. I hear you now, I think.
Yeah, it's something, I don't know where to go. It just keeps going out. Like now it's telling me it's connected. It just keeps
That's so weird.
This restring.
Oh, yeah. So that's a long answer to my credit card. What credit cards I have?
Well, that's awesome though. How many did you have before?
I don't even know. I had like, because this is part of my problem, and something I'm gonna have to really control myself about when my credit recovers. Is that I got my first Amex card, and then it was the same thing. I was like, oh, they do a soft pull. They'll pre-authorize you. So I got like a platinum and a gold in the same month, and then I had to power through. Like I got to get this sign up bonus, So I had like several Amex. I had should I go through the list?
Yeah, go through the list.
So I had all those Amex, gold, platinum. I had the Blue Cash. Oh my God, how am I forgetting the business one? The Blue
Blue Business Plus.
Yeah. And I had the Amazon. I had a lot of them. I had the Amazon Business, Amex. I had I'm almost feeling embarrassed listing all these, but this is your credit card people. You get it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I had a Discover. I had the before I had the Saver One and a Quicksilver, like those things that just kind of hang out forever in your life. What else? What other? I guess that was it. I wound up opening like 0% interest cards. I was transferring things to as I was paying things down, kind of like shuffling money around like that. But I think that's pretty much what I had in that list. Oh, we lost your sound again. No. JR, you're right. Time to go to the garden. I'm going to be gardening with Capital One for a while, it looks like. Sledge is on his Helen Keller. Still can't hear you. Oh, I wonder, is it, I see you taking off that mic. Is that what? Oh, Joe, you're right. It's Friday the 13th. Still can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yep. Now I hear you.
Go through the freaking the default mic.
Oh, I hate it. It is Friday the 13th. That must be it.
That's something, man. It's like press M for my. I'm sure I can only see it on my end.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay. Crazy thing about when you file bankruptcy, you go to Credit Karma and check your Vantage score. It went up 170 points. How did you feel when you looked at that? That's crazy.
Well, I knew, because I've been watching a lot of like people talk about bankruptcy on there's a lady I really like on TikTok called the what's she called? The Ladylike Lawyer. She's a bankruptcy attorney, and she talks a lot about what the process is like. So I knew like my credit score was likely to go up, and it went way down too, because what they tell you when you decide to file, and I retained my attorney, he was like, don't pay anything now. Like,
right.
Don't pay anything. So I was months behind when I had been caught up. So that was a trip watching, like I didn't have a super high credit score, but it was around 700. And then just watching it go way down to like the 400s was like, oh, I can't do it. And all the calls from creditors wanting payments. But yeah, like right after I have filed, a couple days, I looked on, like once it hit Credit Karma, my credit score went up 140. I think you know the number better than I do. It's like 140, 170. Yeah. Yeah. So it's still like, when I look at Experian and whatnot, it's still really low, like in the 500s, but everything's still like, I just had my hearing on Wednesday, and then it takes 60 days for like it officially to get discharged. So at that point, like all the credit scores should kind of catch up, and I'll see what my real credit score is going to be.
Wow, I mean, but some banks, especially some credit unions, they go off of those Vantage scores though.
Oh, do they really?
Yeah, some credit unions do. And if they
Wow.
don't, it's very close to the same TransUnion and Equifax scores that they show on there.
Oh, that's a trip.
Yeah.
One of the things I learned about credit wait, why can't I think of the name of the kind of bank you just mentioned that isn't a bank?
Credit unions?
Yeah, credit union, sorry. That they are like very bankruptcy unfriendly. So that's one of the things that people say, like if you like Wells Fargo will like shut down all your accounts. Like if you file bankruptcy, they'll shut your checking down, they shut everything down. And the only other financial institution that will do that is a credit union. Credit unions are like, nope, we're done with you. I mean, if I went now and tried to open an account, I think post bankruptcy they're okay, but they don't want to have anything to do with you.
Yeah.
When you like, if it's funny because like I don't know if you know this part already, but once you file, there's an automatic stay that prevents anyone from trying to collect anything from you.
Right.
So I think that's partly what the credit union is like. We don't want to have anything to do with this until you're on the other side.
They don't have the assets, that the major banks have. So they like, yeah we out of here.
Yeah.
Now, what advice would you give to somebody that's feeling overwhelmed with debt?
I think like part of it, it's so funny. Like I started feeling better about my debt when I started taking control of my day-to-day finances. It's like really looking at things that made me realize like, okay, so this isn't, it's funny to say this after I just filed bankruptcy, but like this isn't the end of the world. Like there's a way out of this. There's a way to like change my spending. I have some like, I think that's it. Like that I'm kind of like in a long way saying, make a budget, like, and look at like, get a real picture of what your spending is, what you owe, how, and then how to get out, like make a plan and stick to it. And then when you inevitably don't stick to it and screw it up, go back and just keep going. Like try not to, like, I think part of my problem was like something I would try to get on top of things and then something would go wrong, or I would like impulsively spend money I wasn't supposed to. And then I would just be like, well, forget it. Like I'll just keep doing what I've been doing. Which I like, I mean, that was a really big habit that I had to get out from under. So I think that's it. Like figure out what's going on, learn how to manage your money, and then you decide from there.
Right. Learn how to manage money, that's for sure. I got another question back about credit cards again.
Okay.
Before the bankruptcy, did you cancel the cards or did the banks cancel them?
I kind of did both. I mean, there were a couple that I was like, that already had zero balances and I wasn't spending on, that I was in my mind, I was like, maybe if I close this one, they won't know. They won't know about the bankruptcy. And they probably do. And if I try to get a, like I had an Apple Card, that was one of the ones that I was like, you know what, let me just close this.
Right.
But then I was nervous about like, what's this going to look like if the trustee from the court is like, well, why'd you close these accounts? And they look to see if you've made preferential payments to any one credit card company. Yeah. So that's one thing, like, they ask you this too. Like the trustee asked me this on Wednesday of like, have you paid back any, like a family member, anything like that? So even if it's a family member and they see that you paid someone a large amount of money and it was for a debt, they could go back to even the individual and demand that money back that you paid somebody and then split it among all of your creditors. So that was one of those, like, maybe I'll just leave this stuff alone. So I closed a couple of cards and then the rest of them just automatically closed, like with like a day or two after I filed. John R just said, did Michael just say he filed for bankruptcy on Wednesday? And the answer is yes. I actually filed like a month ago, and then on Wednesday I had a meeting with the trustee from the court that oversees all that stuff.
Now, through all of this,
Yeah.
how do you celebrate when you hit a milestone? Because you got to celebrate sometimes along this process.
You know, like, I think I feel like I'm in a kind of a weird place with my channel too. Like this relates to that question about celebrating. Because when I started doing the channel, I was like, okay, this is a mess, but I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna pay this off. And you know, I really had this spirit, even though I was really like kind of tortured about it a lot of the time, that I was gonna do this. I'm gonna pay this all off, whatever it takes. And now that I filed bankruptcy, I'm a little like, oh, did I? I mean, I feel like it's a tool, and I did what was available, and it was like to a fault, like, and to the penny, like perfectly honest about everything. Like I very, you know, but so it feels weird to celebrate, I guess, because I feel like I kind of. I didn't cheat, but it feels like, I mean, I feel like in our society, there's a real heavy like stigma around like you have to pay your debts. And, you know, so it's hard to celebrate it. So I should really think about that. And maybe because I'm going to have some tax debt left because they won't discharge all of it. Anything that's the only dischargeable tax debt, it has to be 3 years old, the debt. So there's still like around $20,000, which feels like a lot, but right now I'm like, oh, it's so easy. I'll knock that out
for sure.
But I think that'll feel like an accomplishment. But it's like a weird place to be in because I don't know. I feel like it was getting it was kind of getting to the like emotionally and like mentally to the place of being able to go ahead and file was like kind of hard. But it also feels like the easy way out. That's what I'm thinking of.
Hey, well, you know what? Easy or not, man, we have to celebrate. We got to celebrate ourselves and our accomplishments. Like you have to, man. You know,
Yeah.
you just can't. I get it. You want to pay back your debts and everything, but you know, we just can't go on and just pay them forever. And
yeah,
you know,
yeah, and that's where like my payoff plan would have had me paying back and finished if I stuck to it to the letter. I would have been like 60, 61 when all the debt was paid off, and I wouldn't be able to really think about my retirement like full force until then. And that's 60 years old. Like I'm already like way behind. So, I mean, I think that's the big piece. I think like once I get kind of past the bankruptcy and I'm really able to start like, okay, look, I have this money ready to go for my bankruptcy. Like things are in place. Maybe it'll feel a little bit more celebratory.
Now, you stick to the plan. You got the bankruptcy out of the way. This is just hypothetical. You achieve financial freedom. How do you sustain it long term?
Oh, these are good questions for me because that feels like really far away. Like I haven't really thought about in a real way what that would look like. I mean, I think one of the things is really just continuing to do what I'm doing with like planning my spending and staying on top of like these habits I have of like our cameras just switched it through me. Like I have this habit of where every day I look at my bank accounts and I like get in YNAB and I'm like budgeting and making sure everything is where it's supposed to be, just so I remember like, okay, this is where we're at. I think that's the kind of stuff that I would do. And then I would probably learn more about investing. Like I know basics about like having an IRA and all that stuff. I think I would really just ramp up learning about those things.
That makes sense. Richie got a good question for you here. How do you deal with expense increases beyond your control? For example, anytime you get a little buffer room, either a mortgage escrow or car insurance goes up, and that is true. It's like they know that we finally starting to get a little room in there.
Some of these questions, I'm like, I just finished my bankruptcy. Like, I feel like I know what I want to do to get ready for that kind of stuff, but I haven't done it yet. So it feels a little dishonest to try to like say. I don't know if that makes sense, but what I'm aiming for and what I'm kind of setting up now is having like little sinking funds. Like I have a savings account that I set up for, well, two things that I really needed to do, like dental and eye care stuff. I'm just putting a little money in these little small funds so that I have money when something comes up. This is what YNAB, one of the things I learned from YNAB is they call it true expenses. And then also I save money for the summer because all my kids go on vacation and I don't have any income really. I mean, it drops by probably 2/3. So I mean, that's the only thing I know, like to kind of plan for those things by putting a little money aside that's designated for whatever that thing coming up. But I mean, then they come up anyway. And then you're like, oh, here's another thing I should have started saving for.
Everything.
Yeah.
I gotta check out this YNAB, man. I have to check out this YNAB.
It's really good. Like I have to admit, it's a little bit of a learning curve. Like when I first looked at it, because I was used to budget. Like most budgets are like, you don't really get in there and like have an active role in it. Like I would start the month and be like, oh, I'm probably gonna have this amount of money, so I'm gonna spend this, and talk about what I was going to do. But something about YNAB, you're kind of in it, like you're participating in the budget as it happens, and it kind of, for me, it really helps to be in there, and like if something needs to change, making those changes, and it really starts me thinking differently about it. But it's really interesting. Like there'll be times that I get money, like students will pay me or whatever, and I'll be like, when I plan it that way, I'm like, oh my God, this money is going a long way. Like I didn't realize that this money would go as far as it would if I plan ahead about what's going to happen with it.
Yeah, that's my problem too, man. I don't plan for nothing.
Yeah.
I don't plan for tomorrow or the next 5 minutes. So.
It's like, I think some people can do that. Like, but for me, like it didn't turn out well, as you might have noticed.
All right, now we about to get into a couple fun questions here.
Okay.
If it was a movie about your life, who would play Michael? And I want the chat to join in on that one too. Who would y'all think would play Michael?
Am I supposed to answer it too?
Yeah, you got to have the answer.
I'm trying to think about, there's this actor, the guy that played why can't I think of his name? In Rocky Horror, the guy that played the sweet transvestite. What's his name?
Well, I will tell you, I don't know anybody's name.
People always tell me I look like that guy, although he's much older than me. So he would have to like, well, maybe not be that much younger. What is it? I'm going to look it up.
Nobody want to answer.
It's funny doing these lives. Come on. Oh, Tim Curry. Oh, J.K. Simmons. I'll take that. That's the guy. Oh, wait, no, I'm thinking of House, but that's not so I have to Google all these people.
I told you I don't know anybody. So I know him if I saw him. Alan Rickman. Okay, who is that? What do you play?
I'm looking up J.K. Simmons. He, like, what did he do? I know who he's. Oh, come on.
Reggie said you should be J.K. Simmons. He agreed with Xavier.
And then Alan Rickman, I got to look up.
John, who is Alan Rickman? What do we play?
Oh, this guy. He played did he play? I don't remember any of these characters from Harry Potter. The snake guy, right? He doesn't look too bad as a human.
John says Alan Rickman for him.
That's so funny.
That is funny. All right, now if your channel had a mascot, what would it be and why?
I feel like the first answer I thought of was too obvious. That's my cat, Tigger. But I feel like I should work harder for my answer than that. I don't know. I'm trying to think of like what's some like. I want to think of Snape. Snape that John said. That's the character that Alan Rickman played. I'm trying to think of like a good mascot that's like something that rejuvenates. Like like a starfish. Starfish, don't they? When you chop off their leg, it grows back.
They're growing back. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's perfect. I'll be a starfish. Will be my my mascot.
It's never over for you. You just keep coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I was watching the show, and they had the guy was like, I don't know what country he's in, but they had a starfish. It's like on the side of the plate. You know, it's like garnishment though. You know, it's not like and the dude picked it up to eat the starfish. This is real life.
Oh no!
Yes, man. Yeah, man.
That's so funny.
All right. The last question and the toughest question of them all. What is your social media and where can anybody reach or see Michael Heron from the Midlife Money YouTube channel?
The best place I think is my channel, Midlife Money Moves, because I'm kind of like I used to be really, really active on social media, but I just haven't been too into it lately. So I'm most active on YouTube. A lot of these people, hi Anthony, by the way, I know like a lot of these people from watching their channels too. So yeah, that's it.
That's it right there. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Michael Heron, Midlife Money YouTube channel. Got any last words for everybody?
Thanks for hearing this story. It always feels so weird to start talking about, especially the bankruptcy part and like trying to describe how I got to the place that I got to. So I appreciate you inviting me and kind of asking me these questions because it's really good to reflect on this stuff.
For sure.
Yeah. For sure. So yeah, everyone keep doing what you're doing. And I'll be gardening my credit card world and watching all the credit channels still, because I just love those credit cards.
Yes, this will not be the last time we work together, and I just want to say thank you for coming on Unfiltered 20 Questions with Sledge, and to everybody out there, whether you've been for 5 minutes, 15, a half an hour, or the whole time, man, we appreciate y'all.